HighBridge, a division of Recorded Books, presents Train Your Mind for Peak Performance, a science-based approach for achieving your goals, by Lyle E. Bourne, Jr., Ph.D., and Alice F. Healy, Ph.D., read by Adam Verner. Publisher's note: this audiobook contains references to visuals present in the print and e-book editions of the book. Preface. There are a lot of books out there on training the body to enhance performance. Fitness training, bodily exercise, good nutrition, and the importance of staying physically active are prominently written about in the media today. However, there is relatively little information on mental training, which is just as important for health and well-being as physical training. Furthermore, mental training can enhance your performance and help you learn a variety of skills. What is the best way to train your mind? In this book, we provide practical tips to help you train your mind and enhance performance on particular kinds of activities or tasks. The tips we provide are scientifically proven. Indeed, we have researched this topic for about 30 years in the scientific discipline known as cognitive psychology. Cognitive psychology is the study of mental processes related to perceiving, attending, thinking, language, and memory. Specifically, we have researched how the activities people carry out in their head can affect their behavior. Through years of experiments, we have learned a lot about how the mind works and what conditions lead to the most effective mental training. This book translates the scientific findings into easy-to-understand tips that anyone should be able to follow. In addition, it provides several mini-experiments that permit listeners to test the training tips firsthand and verify that they work. Our hope is that this book will help you improve your mental performance to achieve whatever goals you have set for yourself, whether the goal is learning a new skill, becoming an expert at an existing skill, or maintaining your current level of performance. There is one caveat to bear in mind. After decades of research, we and others have found that mental training is pretty specific to the task you train on. Training on one mental task probably won't make you an expert at another task. Thus, this book is unlikely to raise your IQ or make you an all-around mental genius. Sorry about that. However, it will help you to improve your performance on the task you choose, in sports, in music, in art, or in your job. By following the tips in this book, you will maximize your training and learn how best to acquire and retain knowledge and skills and transfer them to new situations. Chapter 1. What's this book all about? Training is everything. Mark Twain, Pudd'nhead Wilson. Let's be clear from the outset. This book is about training the mind. It's about achieving better, possibly expert, mental performance in some activity of everyday life. For example, you might be interested in learning to play a musical instrument, or you might want to learn a new foreign language for an upcoming trip. You'll improve your chances of succeeding in these endeavors if you train your mind properly. Training the mind is more than just keeping the mind active, important though that is. It's also more than just doing puzzles periodically. As a matter of fact, the effects of puzzle practice are quite limited. Doing a lot of crossword puzzles might improve your ability to do crossword puzzles in the future, but it's unlikely to have any large or general benefit for mental activity. So what does training the mind involve? And why should you do it? Basically, training the mind involves practicing a skill under certain conditions so that you learn it well. The goal is to optimize your performance of that activity. Does training the mind mean that the body is irrelevant? Of course not. When it comes to performance, the body is necessarily involved in expressing the contents of the mind. For example, in expressing your musical knowledge and skills through playing an instrument, performance will always entail bodily action. However, the mind will direct your body, and by that pathway, mental training will enhance your performance. The idea of training is to become the best you can be at your chosen task. What exactly do you learn when you train your mind? Well, among other things, you learn facts and skills. A fact is a piece of information about the world, and a skill is the ability to do something with that information. Facts make up your knowledge of the world, and skills enable you to use your worldly knowledge. So one goal of training is to add to your fact and skill repertoire. The more you know and can do, the better you perform. Facts and skills are learned in different ways. You can learn a fact by having a single experience. You see, or hear, or feel something. Somebody tells you something, you read something, and then you know it. Thus, facts can be learned rapidly. But facts can be forgotten, or become inaccessible just as rapidly. So knowledge of facts is an all-or-none thing. Either you know the fact, or you don't. There are certain things you can do during training to reduce the likelihood of forgetting an important fact, and we discuss some of those techniques in this book. These techniques derive from principles of good effective training. Skills, in contrast, come with practice, repetition, and drill. Rarely can a skill be acquired in a single practice attempt. Exercising the skill over and over again is the key to skill acquisition. As you practice, execution of the skill will become easier. You'll do it more smoothly, more rapidly, and with fewer errors. You will find that paying attention to what you're doing is very important when you first start out. But with more and more trials of practice, your attention can drift away to other things without jeopardizing your performance. It feels like the skill is becoming more or less automatic with practice. Furthermore, just as skills take time to develop, they tend to be very durable. Unlike facts, you don't lose skills rapidly, even over long periods without practice. Although you can lose or forget a skill, this occurs far more slowly than forgetting facts. So, with training, we acquire new facts and skills. As the saying goes, practice, with the experience it provides, makes perfect. And the more practice you put in, the more perfect your performance will be. A performance is the use of a practiced skill. When you perform, you put what you know into action. Some kinds of performance rely more heavily on facts, for example, reciting the states and their capitals, whereas others require an emphasis on skills, for example, playing the piano. Thus, the best way to train depends on the type of performance that you are training for. In this book, we explain which training techniques work best for different types of performance goals. What age do you have to be to benefit from mental training? Any age. Although some skills, such as learning a second language, are easier to learn when you're a child, you can still learn a new activity at just about any age, if you are willing to invest the effort. You can even become an expert at it. Gary Marcus, a psychology professor, made this point by becoming a guitar expert in his middle years, even though he started out completely tuneless. Training doesn't have to involve a new activity, though. The goal of your training might be to maintain or improve your skill at a current favorite activity. Maybe you've been a musician all your life, but you want to improve some aspect of your technique, or expand your knowledge of certain composers. Mental training will help. Thus, what you learn in this book can help you if you identify with any of the three following cases. Case 1. Suppose you are a young person. You're just starting out in adult life. Maybe you just got your first job. The question is, how good at that job do you want to be? Or, while working at it, are you looking around for your real calling? You have plenty of time, and you want to be the very best you can be at whatever it is you'll be pursuing. Training can help you get there. Case 2. You are in middle age. You've been working at the same job for 20 years and have become pretty good at it, but you're looking to expand your horizons. You want to reinvigorate your life by adding something new. You don't have a lot of free time, but you can certainly add something to your life. Suppose all of a sudden you decide to learn to paint in watercolors. Can it be done, and at a level that keeps your interest? Training can help you get there. Case 3. You are retired. You've had a rich and challenging career, but now you're done doing what you've been doing all your life. You're ready to take on something new and different, if only to keep yourself mentally sharp or stable. Maybe you want to take on art history. Training can help you pick it up in a satisfying way. Hopefully, this training will allow you to retain your mental ability and reverse what might otherwise be a mental decline. So go ahead and choose a goal for training. What do you want to get better at? What are you most interested in? Music, sports, medicine, accounting, the stock market, carpentry? Pick your activity and goal, commit to it, and let's begin. What will it take to become an expert? Have you ever admired the performance of a top athlete, a highly skilled musician, or an appraiser on Antiques Roadshow, and wondered how that person got to be so good? Have you ever dreamed of being that good at anything? Maybe you can be. Elite performance is not born, but made. Here's the key. You have to work at it, and you have to really want it. In other words, you need time and effort, as well as motivation. Time and effort. Researchers have different estimates of how much time and effort are required to become an expert, and some areas of expertise are harder than others. Anders Ericsson, the leading researcher in this field, who has studied the history of experts in many domains, concludes that it takes approximately 10,000 hours of deliberate study and practice to really master a task. That is, to become an expert. Deliberate practice is practice done consciously and intentionally, especially on aspects of the task that challenge your weaknesses. 10,000 hours. That's a lot of time. That's about 3 hours a day, every day of the year for 10 years. The popular cartoon Dilbert has even joked about this amount. Clearly, neither Dilbert's boss nor his interviewee is quite there yet. Motivation. Although 10,000 hours may seem daunting, don't be discouraged. The following facts should boost your motivation. Progress comes quickly. The learning curve, which shows your progress over a series of practice sessions, is steep to begin with. Early practice has a bigger payoff than later practice. Consider the idealized learning curve in Figure 1.2, found in the print and ebook versions of the book. You will probably get to be pretty good at any new task after a month or so of deliberate and systematic practice. It might take years to become really, really good, but it doesn't take years to make progress. Progress begets progress. There is something called a positive feedback loop operating in most training situations. You can see your progress, especially if you keep reasonable evaluative records of how well you're doing. You can see your learning curve, and that information feeds positively into future performance. Progress leads to more commitment. Performance improvement fuels commitment. Doing better at something is its own reward. It has the effect of encouraging more work and even better performance. The point of all this is to motivate you to get started. Apply yourself and watch what happens. Before you know it, deliberate practice will become a standard routine, and the whole process of acquiring knowledge and skills will become self-sustaining. You might even begin to look forward to practice sessions lasting 2 to 3 hours. Early on, the key is to stick to it. Is there an easier path to better performance? Do you really need to practice all that much? Can you get away without that effort? Can you influence your brain in some way to do the work for you? Let's consider some possibilities. First, you might think that having great genes could eliminate at least some of your need for practice. Maybe you have always found mental activities easy. Could that be because of your native intelligence, which you inherited from your parents? Maybe so, but the scientific evidence is not compelling. Further, even the smartest people need to practice in order to keep themselves mentally fit, just as the most talented musicians and athletes need to practice deliberately and frequently to stay at the top of their fields. Second, you might think that you can take a pill that will keep you mentally fit. Many paid advertisements try to tell you this. Indeed, there are even some scientific studies suggesting that some widely marketed non-prescription drugs can serve as memory enhancers, or can effectively treat the decline in memory due to aging. But a careful review of scientific studies suggests that the specific evidence is not yet strong enough to warrant buying those products as an easy way out of mental training. Third, you might think that you can improve performance by changing your diet, being careful to eat the right foods and to get the right vitamins and nutrients, and that such changes will relieve your need for mental training. For example, vitamin D, ginseng, caffeine, sugar, omega-3 oil, avocados, and berries have all been touted as food items that enhance memory, increase the ability to concentrate, and improve attention span. Our favorite smart or brain food of this type is chocolate. You should indeed try to eat a healthy diet, but this is not a panacea that will eliminate your need for mental training. Eating the right foods is necessary to keep your mind and your body active, alert, and functioning well, but it is not sufficient. You also have to train your mind. Finally, you might think that physical exercise or bodybuilding can substitute for mental training. Some have argued that physical fitness is the cornerstone of mental fitness. Unfortunately, the scientific evidence cited to support this claim doesn't stand up under close scrutiny. Physical exercise is important for a happy and healthy adult life, but if you want to improve mentally, exercise your mental functions. There is really no easy route to high-level mental performance that does not entail mental work. As the saying goes, there's no free lunch. And mental work is hard. There's no getting around it. Jane Fonda often said in her fitness workout videos, "No pain, no gain." She's right. And that goes for mental exercise as much as it does for physical fitness and sports training. We discuss these possibilities here because we want to help you to identify what does and what does not work when it comes to improving your mind. Commit yourself to working hard, and you will see the benefits in the way you can do your daily activities. Do you need a coach? For physical fitness training, it is often wise to get some help from someone knowledgeable and skilled in exercise techniques. A coach can give you a set of activities, showing you each exercise, watching you perform the exercise, and giving you feedback on your performance. The coach can select those exercises so that they are appropriate to your precise level of fitness, your level of skill, and the time you have to conduct your training. You then perform your exercises at home, perhaps every morning before breakfast. When you think that you have mastered those exercises, you can return to your coach for an assessment of your level of progress. Your coach will probably ask to see you do each exercise as a way to monitor your performance, and then will give you tips to improve each exercise, change it, or take you to a higher level. The coach will also add some new exercises to give you some variety and keep you interested in your exercise program and motivated to continue with it. What about mental training? There is no doubt that a coach can be helpful in guiding your mental training program, the same way that a coach can be helpful in guiding your physical training program. So who can serve as a mental training coach? It depends on the area in which you've chosen to concentrate your mental training efforts. For example, if your chosen area of concentration involves music, try to find a music teacher. If your chosen area involves art, look for a professional artist or art educator. Likewise, if your chosen area is writing, then look for a professional writer. Finally, if your chosen area is an academic discipline, try to find a professor or graduate student teaching that discipline at a local college. These individuals might not have served in this precise way in the past. Guiding a program of mental training in this area might be new to them, but they should be willing to help you in this way and should find it a stimulating and enjoyable experience to do this type of tutoring. They might be willing to help you on a volunteer basis. Alternatively, it might be appropriate to pay them for their time and effort. Coaches add value to a training program, but use them sparingly. Do you need a training partner? Another possibility is to work with a training partner. If you and a friend or relative both want to start a mental training program, maybe you can help each other develop the training routine. Working alongside someone else can help you stick to that routine. You should meet regularly to discuss what your goals are and how you plan to achieve them. You can formulate exercises that you can each conduct individually at your own pace and on your own schedule, and then you can regularly check on each other's progress. Or you might decide to do the training together, perhaps alternating the exercises with conversation and coffee or a snack. Your mental training sessions can become a social occasion for you. They can give you the opportunity to spend some time with your friend in a new way and with a new focus. Naturally, this idea will work best if you both choose the same area in which to train. But if you choose different areas, perhaps both of you can train in both areas. Then you can serve as the leader in the area you chose, and your friend can serve as the leader in the other area. Although it might be fun, motivating, and helpful to involve another individual, either as a coach or as a training partner, it is usually not necessary. Just as you don't need someone to help you find books to read for pleasure, you don't need someone to help you find mental exercises that you enjoy and promote training. Indeed, many people prefer to do all of the training on their own. Formulating your mental exercise program and then conducting the exercises can be your time for solitude. If you are a self-starter and want to find some time for yourself, then go for it. How can you stay focused? Training is hard, sometimes boring, sometimes fatiguing. It requires sustained attention. Don't be surprised if, on occasion, your mind begins to wander during practice. It happens to most people, so you have to guard against it, because your ability to stay on task contributes to your level of performance. Here are some tips that might help you. First, keep your training sessions short. The longer they are, the more susceptible you are to losing track. There is a balancing act here. A session needs to be long enough to show progress and performance, but short enough to minimize task disengagement. You might have to experiment to see what works best for you. Second, there are ways to mitigate boredom. We discuss later possible antidotes to boredom that you can introduce into a session to keep your mind focused. Finally, you can actually train yourself to stay focused, or mindful. Mindfulness training has been demonstrated to reduce the occurrence of distracting thoughts during tests of general knowledge and of memory, especially among trainees who are prone to distraction. Mindfulness training consists mainly of focused attention meditation, such as focusing on the breath or other sensory experiences, for example, tasting a fruit. If your mind tends to wander, but you can't take a course on mindfulness, it might still be helpful for you to practice focused attention meditation techniques. Setting up an effective training program. Give some structure to your practice. Decide how much time you can commit each week and each day within the week. Then decide what times during those days you will practice. Spread your practice out as much as possible. It is better to practice 1 or 2 hours each day of the week than to cram it all into one day. Find ways to reward yourself for sticking to your schedule. That will be a big part of keeping your motivation high. Additionally, keep a record of how well you do on each practice session. In other words, provide yourself with periodic feedback about the accuracy of your performance, the types of errors you make, and the speed with which you execute the task correctly. We discuss this in more detail throughout the book. Maximizing the 3 goals of training. In a formal training program, there are 3 types of sessions. 1. Acquisition sessions, which include exposure, experience, and drills on new material. 2. Retention sessions, which include testing your memory of material that you learned previously. And 3. Transfer sessions, which include testing for improvement on different but related material. The 3 types of training sessions promote 3 somewhat different goals. All 3 add to your level of performance. A good training program should maximize all 3 of these goals. Training efficiency. Look for ways to acquire the new knowledge and skill in the shortest possible time. Some conditions of training will slow you down, and others will speed up the process. Usually, you want the latter. We discuss some exceptions later in the book. Training durability. Whatever it is you learn, new facts, a new skill, you want it to last, to stick with you. You need to be able to remember it, sometimes over long periods of time with little or no additional practice. Some training procedures support durable performance, others less so. Training generalizability. Sometimes training in one task will help you not only with that task, but also with related tasks. For example, say you learn to play a piece of music on the piano. Does that accomplishment transfer to other pieces of music so that you are better at pieces you have not practiced? Does your piano practice help you to play a different musical instrument? If either of these things happen, what you've learned is to some degree generalizable. Although most new learning is quite specific, some training conditions promote transfer or generalizability. So by training, you want to optimize efficiency, durability, and generalizability of new knowledge and skill. It would be ideal if a training routine could optimize all three simultaneously, but life, unfortunately, is usually not that simple. What promotes efficiency of training does not necessarily enhance durability or generalizability. To take a simple example, making the training task easy will enhance speed of acquisition, efficiency, but often at a price in retention, durability. Things that are learned rapidly tend to be forgotten rapidly. Consider what happens when you cram the night before an exam. By cramming, it might seem that you saved study time, but what you cram in is often far less durable than it would be if you spread out the same amount of study time. Crammed-in knowledge, lacking durability, is more likely to be forgotten after the exam. Optimizing the three aspects of good training is something of a balancing act. For the math-oriented folks, it's like trying to solve three simultaneous equations for three unknowns. But don't despair. It can be done. In this book, we take a look at what works. Planning the training sessions. Training takes place over days and weeks, and maybe years, depending on your goal and your motivation. On any given day of training, you might work for, say, 1 to 3 hours on your routine. In the course of a given day, you might mix up acquisition with retention and transfer sessions. It's important to set them up and plan them in advance. You can do it alone, but this is where a coach might be helpful. The point is, training is a long process. It will consist of a variety of activities, all contributing to improved performance. Measuring success. Efficiency, durability, and generalizability are measured in different ways. Efficiency is gauged by how well you perform during the initial phase of training, the acquisition phase. You set a goal for the training session, and how quickly you get there tells you something about the efficiency of the acquisition process. Durability is measured in a follow-on retention phase. That is, after acquisition and the passage of a certain amount of time, you test performance for how much you've retained. Are you just as good as you were at the end of acquisition? Better, maybe? Or have you lost something from the end of acquisition? This tells you about how durable the training experience was. Finally, how general is the training effect? Generality also is measured in a later test, after acquisition, in a transfer session. But now, instead of measuring performance on the same material studied in acquisition, you measure it on new or related material. So let's say you learned 12 new facts in your chosen field during acquisition. We now test to see whether that new knowledge boosts what you know about other facts in the same general area. Or, alternatively, did the acquisition phase in any way affect how fast you can learn a new set of facts? If so, there is something general that you acquired in the initial phase. We will look at some real examples of these effects later on. It is vitally important to keep a written record of your performance in all three types of training sessions. These records provide the basis of enhanced performance via feedback through the positive feedback loop, and they will serve as a reminder of your improvement over time, keeping you motivated to continue. We want to emphasize that training effects tend to be quite specific to the material, the facts and the skills.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?